author. And Dr. Anand Ranganathan, I'm deliberately starting with you because you're the only non-political person on the panel, and therefore I want to ask you. When it comes to films on historicals, did you hear a hue and cry when Jodha Akbar was released? Did you hear a hue and cry when Mughal-e-Azam came? Why is it when there is a film like PrithviRaj Chauhan that we have questions that are raised? Questions on why it is tax-free, questions on why the Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh sat in front and watched the film, why not in the back row of the auditorium? Why was he watching it free? Why is it tax-free? When Mr. Akhilesh Yadav himself in his 5 years of power actually promoted 30 films as tax-free films, wasn't there revenue loss today? Why are these questions being raised today?
Good evening, Navik, to all my fellow panelists.
You've asked a very pertinent question, Navika. There are two issues, but first let me deal straight away with that really shocking exhibition of the bias that you showed by producing the content of the NCERT textbooks. It really is shocking if that is true, but again I have to ask, पिछले 8 साल से सरकार तो कांग्रेस की नहीं है. They could have, if they wanted, to change the textbook on day 1, 2014 itself. तो ये responsibility किसकी है? In fact, the education minister is on record saying we are proud to have not changed even a single comma in our textbook. गंगा बह रही है. So yes, you can blame them, the governments before 2014, but 2014 and Mr. Modi especially are to be for this. To the other issue, Navika, this is an endemic. This is a systemic problem because nations weaken not because of their past, but rather by how they are taught it. And for 70 years, we have been taught to airbrush our history, taught to forget historical injustices. From Somnath to Kashi Vishwanath, Babarpur to Bakhtiyarpur, from Allahabad to Aurangabad, these injustices have deliberately been made visible as though to lionize the debate. Akshay is absolutely right. We know more about the wretched Mughals than about Shivaji and Rana Pratap and PrithviRaj Chauhan. Navika, history that is written by the victors is peddled by the vanquished. And I'm sorry to say, but we have been totally vanquished. This is a country where people still go and pray at the tomb of the monster Aurangzeb, who beheaded Guru Tegh Bahadur, decapitated Sambhaji Maharaj, demolished Kashi Vishwanath, murdered 4.9 million Hindus. This is a country where Guru Arjan Dev was forced to sit on a hot plate and literally cooked alive by the Mughal Emperor Jahangir. And what do? We immortalize him in our films as the affable, feather-toying romantic Salim. This is a country where a celebrated historian, Ram Guha, didn't want Delhi roads to be named after Chhatrapati Shivaji, the man who birthed an empire stretching from Peshawar to Plassey, because in Guha's words, he was a, quote, little-known regional feudal lord who endorsed caste hierarchies, unquote. Country where Akhilesh Yadav takes pride in having the nickname Tipu on Tipu Sultan, the same Tipu Sultan who wrote a manifesto that was a terrifying proclamation calling for all Muslims to gather and convert infidels and wage jihad. Quote, whoever refuses to obey would be treated as an accursed infidel. Annihilation of the infidels was a sacred duty, unquote. The Hindus of Coorg, Navika, suffered a particularly Tipu Sultan, and in their thousands, murders, tortures, forced conversions, no one was spared. Even dead Hindus were converted, even dead Hindus. He destroyed 800 temples, 27 churches, captured 60,000 Christians, converted 30,000, killed thousands, emptied Mangalore of them. 4 lakh Malabar Hindus were converted to Islam. Descendants of Mandya Mahangars do not celebrate Diwali till this day. You know why, Navika? Because Tipu butchered them on this day. Tipu was Baghdadi 350 years before ISIS. And Akhilesh, the same Akhilesh, who is castigating the recounting of the valor of PrithviRaj, the same Akhilesh calls himself Tipu.
Dr. Anand Ranganathan, respond to Lokesh Jindal.
Good evening, Navik, and good evening to all my esteemed panelists. It's a very serious topic that we've raised, and I think it requires a little bit of philosophical bent of mind, if I may, to answer this, because I have to say this, that I profoundly disagree with Dr. Mohan Bhagwat on his statement, I look for shivling in every mosque. I'm sorry, but I find his statement flippant, frivolous, and an insult to all those who seek to legally correct historical injustices. I know I would be pilloried for this in many quarters, and many would say, "Tu kaun hai bhai? Ek sangi ko Hinduism."
I, as a Darwinian atheist, have no right to intervene. I don't have a skin in the game, as they say. But I assert that this is not a Hindu issue, or a Muslim issue, or a religious issue. Looking for shivling, reclaiming demolished, destroyed places of worship, correcting historical injustices, Navika, is an Indian issue. It is a civilizational issue. And to me, the mark of a civilization is this unquenchable thirst of man to demand justice for his ancestors, to correct the historical wrong. For that exemplifies the continuity and identity that can never be erased, that is worth fighting for and preserving. It makes justice greater than the sum of its parts. And that is why a civilization fleeting like empire, to demand justice for a people who are dead for hundreds of years, it is almost as though you can feel their pain, their suffering, their destruction that has transcended the limits of body and time. And that is why the medicine, why catharsis is a cure. And today, when I see Hindus wishing to reclaim Kashi Vishwanath or Mathura, I see this as a catharsis, as a deliverance of justice to my ancestors who were wrong. I do not know, Navika, how long it would take, what shape the reclaimed temples would take. I do not know when they would be ultimately coming up. In a way, being an atheist, these issues. But I know for a fact that today, seeing Hindus fight for their rights, the deliverance has come. It is confounding to me because I am but a bunch of cells, here today, gone tomorrow. But till the time I'm alive, this concept of striving to correct historical injustice is vital for me. It defines who I am. What part of that cannot erase my civilization. The concept of justice, Navika, is like memory. It keeps getting passed on until realized. And we have to realize it, Navika, just 20 seconds. The historian Sri Sitaram Goyal has meticulously tabulated 1862 mosques that are built upon demolished temples. According to historian lawyer J.S.I. Deepak, this number may be as high as 40,000. And that is why we need to look for each and every shivling, wherever it is, hidden underground or over it, inside a mosque or outside it. We owe it to
Anand Ranganathan,
justice. As I emphasize, I am a Darwinian atheist, I am not a Hindu, and this is not a Hindu issue. How can I prevent someone from legally going to the court to ask for a historical injustice to be corrected? And I've said this before, I say it again. If Shoaib Jamai, my friend, my brother Muslim, feels that a mosque needs to be reclaimed, that a temple has been built over it, I will go with him to the Supreme Court to demand that the mosque be reclaimed, that historical justice be corrected. This is not a religious issue. This is an Indian issue. This is a civilizational issue. As I said, Navika, please give me a minute to explain. It's fairly complicated as it happens, because people in the panels below, starting from my good friend Mr. Jindal, have been shocked by the rather conciliatory statement, as you call it, middle of the path statement. I disagree with him, but that's the fact. Is surprised at this statement because this statement might as well have been coming from a Congress leader or an AIMIM leader.
Because ultimately what Mr. Bhagwat is saying is that let us just concentrate on what we have. Let's not talk about those, as I said, 40,000 temples that have been demolished and mosques built on them. It's a conciliatory middle ground statement. I disagree with it. As an Indian,
it is amusing that someone like Mr. Jindal disagrees with it, because this is something exactly that would come from a congressman's mouth. So this is why they have been taken off guard. They do not know how to react, because they are carrying agenda. Mr. Jindal will not react like I have. He doesn't want. Don't interrupt.
Under these words, there is the inherent ideology of a Hindu supremacy.
well, you can't be interrupting everybody, Mr. Jindal. Come on, hold on.
You give me some time.
Yes, I will. If you stop interrupting people, I will give you time. Anand, finish your point.
Yes. As I was saying, I gave ample examples that I am here to fight legally to correct historical injustices. Religion agnostic. These people don't want that, Navika. They want only historical injustices against the Muslims or non-Hindus to be corrected. They don't want the historical injustice against Hindus to be corrected. This is their problem. इनको समझ में नहीं आ रहा आप कहें क्या, because जो statement डॉक्टर मोहन भागवत ने कही है वो इनकी statement है.
Well,